Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar proudly hosted by PS Global Consulting and Acme Technology with the topic Modern Finance Structure, Integrating ERP and Banking Systems to Enable Automation and End-to-End Control. I'm Ayu, your MC for today. We are very excited to have you all here, especially our fellow finance professionals from across Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. Before we begin, I'd like to highlight an exciting insight. Most of you would by now have adopted a solution like Cloud ERP, and your next challenge and opportunity would be integration. According to a Forrester study, organizations that fully integrate NetSuite with financial platforms are closing books 50% faster and gaining real-time cash flow insights two-thirds more quickly. This is why today's session is so relevant. We will explore exactly how companies like Acme Technology and funding societies are enabling that next level of finance automation. Let me quickly walk you through our agenda today. We will start with an opening remark from PS Global Consulting, followed by a keynote presentation from Acme Technology. Then we will jump into our panel discussion with our three speakers from PS Global Consulting, Acme Technology, and funding societies. You are encouraged to submit questions throughout the sessions via the Zoom Q&A chat, and we will cover it at the end. We will also select the best questions to get a special gift from us. Make sure to fill out the feedback survey form shown on your screen now for a chance to win our lucky draw at the end of this session. So stay with us until the end and fill in the feedback form to stand a chance to win. This webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes, and this session is being recorded, and we will be sharing the recording after the event. Now, let's kick things off. Please join me in welcoming William, Director from PS Global Consulting. He will kick us off by introducing PS Global Consulting and give us context for today's discussion. Hi, William.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for everyone that joining today.
Yeah, okay. Pass it over to you, William. Thank you.
Again, I think today event there's a very interesting topics that we will discuss today. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. So a little bit of PointStar. Maybe some of you have not known PointStar before. But PointStar, we formerly known as PointStar Consulting. Sorry, PS Global, we formerly known as PointStar Consulting. We focuses a lot on Oracle NetSuite ERP implementation with all the solutions that surrounding an ERP, be it OCR or transaction matching, etc. Right? And anybody that know NetSuite is a low-code, no-code automation platform, right? And where they look at ERP from SaaS point of view, being able to provide best of breed cloud ERP for a lot of our client base, right? A little bit about us, right? 15 years experience. We partner with a lot of leading solutions. I mentioned one of them being Oracle NetSuite. Then we of course partner with other solutions as well, including Acme, Sligo, NetGain, Workato, etc. With presence pretty much across Asia. And we are integral part of a Skyphone business unit backed by C-Town with the vision to become the APAC leading digital transformation platform. This is some of our highly esteemed customers list. So as you can see, we are quite well diverse across different industry. There's no specific verticals that we focuses on. We have a teams that are quite well versed across all these different customer base across the Southeast Asia region, right? Again, a little bit of PS Global Consulting, about 500 projects up to date, including new install as well as enhancement. About 200 plus consultants really well spread across the regions. About 15 years experience in the cloud experience, right? And just a little bit of those that know PointStar, we are the largest partners. Sorry, PS Global. Now we know as PointStar, used to be known as PointStar Consulting. We used to be the sorry, we are actually currently the largest partner of Oracle NetSuite across the regions for many years now. Very strong presence in the market as well. If you have any requirement on your cloud ERP, more than happy to take on the discussions. So I want to touch a little bit about the topics today. We as an ERP implementations, we NetSuite has a lot of capability, especially around finance, accounting, operation, ERP, sales order, P2P, order to cash, etc. But on its own, I think everyone that is on NetSuite know that it lacks integration capability with the banks, right? And on nowadays, it's I think in the past, people are always talking about downloading financial statement, for example, MT940 format, or producing a bank payment file so that you can log into your portal, your bank portal, to upload the data, right? So this those are pretty much the capability Oracle NetSuite have, right? So those are pretty much the always style of how you operate your banking functions, right, within the ERP setup, right? However, what we find out is that more and more customers actually come to us and say, "Hey, look, is there any way that we can integrate the bank with Oracle NetSuite?" Right? Of course, everybody know that anybody that try to integrate with the bank know how hard it is to integrate with the bank, right? Um, so without these functions, where Acme basically kind of bridge the gap within the ERP space. Very often, the accounting team is left with mundane tasks, right? Time-consuming tasks like downloading. I mentioned to you, right? Downloading bank statement, and then and then basically downloading bank payment file from NetSuite and go into the bank portal to go and upload the bank payment, which is I think we fairly say that is non-value added, right? And that was basically the idea of a bank integrations, right? Which I'm sure JX will expand further on that topics, right? But basically, what is Acme role here, right, within the ERP? Of course, number one is automating the bank activities, right? Making sure that downloading of bank statement, uploading of bank payment file, all of this can be done in automated way, right? Because when you do it automatically, of course, number one, you enhance the security part of it, and then of course you avoid errors as well, right? But most importantly, right, within the finance accounting team, it's all about freeing time, right, for other value-added activities for the accounting team, because we know that the role of the finance team and accounting team now evolves, right? So it's really about how can we free up our time with all these bank integration capabilities so that the team can focus more on other part of the activities, right? Because some of our customers have more than 30 banks, right? Downloading 30 banks bank statement gonna take a while, right? Or uploading a bank format to the wrong bank portal would be a mistake as well, right? So I guess what we're going to discuss today is how these bank integrations come into play and how it can benefit you when it integrate your bank together with your ERP system. So that's probably just to kick off the meeting. Now over to you. Are you?
All right. Thank you so much, William, for setting the stage. So, yeah, before we begin our keynote, again, just a reminder for everyone here, you are encouraged to submit questions throughout the session via the Zoom Q&A chat. We will cover it at the end. We will also select the best questions to get a special gift from us. And make sure to fill out the feedback survey form shown on your screen for a chance to win our lucky draw at the end of this session. And for your information as well, this webinar is will be recorded and will be sharing after this event, and as well also the slides. Yes, definitely we will share it to everyone after this webinar. Okay, so now let's hear from our keynote speaker, GX, CEO of Acme Technology, who will walk us through real-time bank integrations and their impact on finance operations. Welcome, GX. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Anita. Thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and give a quick introduction and share my screen. Hi,
Sure,
everyone.
please.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, William, for the fantastic introduction. PointStar has been a long-standing partner of Acme, and we are glad to be able to work together to enhance the ability for your ERP and NetSuite usage through bank connectivity. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and give you guys an introduction of what we do at Acme Technology. So at Acme, the vision of Acme is to make bank connectivity or bank integrations fast and easy. Now, one question you may ask is that there are usually two groups of people that have two different reactions when you look at this. The first group would go, what is bank integrations or why do I need that? The second would go, wow, I think that I am very familiar with that and all of the manual pain that has caused, and I want to understand how we can try to solve that. So today we will address both of these. How so, you may ask? So for any corporates, whether you are working in the finance department, whether you're working in the IT department, whether your company does manufacturing to shipping, or even if it's a retail or e-commerce business, these four things at the bottom should speak to you. Any business that you operate or run or work at you would have a bank account. And for many of us, because our business is booming and it's big, you actually have several bank accounts. Not just different banks, but also it could be the same bank across different countries. Regardless of which bank that you work with, there are four things that you need from a bank. The first is that you need to collect money through your bank account. When you collect money through a bank account, the interesting thing is that in Singapore or Malaysia, there are actually many different ways that you can collect money in. For example, a customer in Singapore can pay you by PayNow, by Fast, by Maps, TT, intra-bank transfer, Gyro. These are all very different payment methods. And you may think that, oh, it's just money into my bank account. What's so challenging about that? Now, we all know that this is actually what you see when you download your transaction statement from your bank. Depending on the payment type, these are all very different transaction formats. And this can be very overwhelming. But that is the reality of the bank transaction format today. Regardless of whichever transactions that come in, all of them will come in at a different time and they will come in a different format, which makes your reconciliation job very challenging. So what Acme does is regardless of the payment type, regardless of when it comes in, we will take all of that in and we automate the pushing of that into your system. And in addition, we also make sure that we clean it up so that it is nice and ready for you to use. So the payouts is the same but opposite problem. And then we make sure that we get your bank statements in for recon. And for more sophisticated clients with sophisticated needs, they might need to do FX. So the reality is that if you can automate the getting of your bank feed right into your ERP system, and if you're also able to automate the pushing of the payments out, then that would actually save you a lot of time. But the more important value addedness of that is also that of compliance. And that has become a very important topic in the past few months, especially when there are accounting scandals like e-fishery that happen in Indonesia. So for those who may not be as familiar, e-fishery is a unicorn company, meaning that they are valued at over $1 billion in Indonesia. And a few months ago, there was a scandal whereby they admitted to actually falsifying their invoices and inflating their revenues by more than 80%. And one big way in which that was done was because my understanding is that the upload of the bank statement into the ERP system is actually done manually. And as a result of that, someone was able to then sort of intercept that file and add in more transactions in order to make the revenue numbers bigger. I think what that illustrates is that when you run a business, it is very important to make sure that the data that you have from your bank, whether it is getting bank statements in or bill payment out, cannot be touched so that there will not be a vehicle for fraud and there will not be any mistakes. And so the ability to not just optimize your processes, but also to reduce fraud is the main reason as to why Acme does what we do. The other question though is that say you want to integrate with a bank. The problem is that it is not that straightforward to integrate with the bank. So if I give you an example, if you want to integrate with a bank directly, whichever bank that you pick, there are actually 4 main phases of integrating with the bank. You start with asking your RM and telling them that you want to integrate with them. But it will take at least 2 months before the bank actually understands what you need and the specific reports or APIs that you may need. You may think that, oh, I just need a daily bank statement that's very straightforward. But the truth is that there are many different types of daily bank statements. You could choose an MT940 format, you could choose the CAD53 format, you could also want the hourly version, and you could choose to have it delivered over SFTP or APIs. Now, if all of that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it, because most people do not get that as well, because that is where Acme comes in. We will be there to make sure that you make the right choice and to actually drive the conversations with the various banks on your behalf. So not just do we help you in the solutioning, but also even in the negotiations to understand the API documentation, most of these bank documentation is more than 100 pages, which makes it very challenging to understand. And then you go on to implementation, which are your weekly calls to set up your UAT, LV, certs exchange, PHP keys. All of that can be very overwhelming. And the thing is, even if you go live, that is not the end, but rather that is just the end of the beginning, because the real work happens in all of your post-go live when you have to do your monthly maintenance, updates on file formats, as well as updates of the APIs. So Acme comes in by helping to ensure that we guide you and be with you every single step of the way and provide you the implementation and advisory service along with PointStar to ensure that you do not have to worry about all of this back and forth. And in doing so, we can actually reduce your go-to-market time by up to 80%. And so as a quick summary, we will help and work with you to do bank-based payments, payouts, recon, and integrate it into your ERP system like NetSuite. Moreover, we have strong integration capabilities across the banks in the region, and we are continuously adding new banks. We are on the verge of releasing our next set of banks in Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. And along with the Malaysian and Singapore banks here, as well as the global banks like HSBC, Citibank, and Standard Chartered, we are confident that we can cover all of your global and regional needs. So very quickly, Acme has served over 55 customers, and we have done it over the past 6 months across the region. So what I'm going to do here is actually stop sharing, and I'm actually going to transition to a live demo on NetSuite. But before I do that, maybe I can just pause here real quick if there are any questions. So I see a question from Sandy. Thank you for your question. If there are any questions, feel free to type it in right now, and then I will have a quick Q&A and answer that before I continue with the quick demo. So feel free to type in your questions. If not, I'll go ahead and answer Sandy's question. Thank you, Annie. I see your question. Okay. Cool. Any other questions, please feel free to put that in. Okay. Okay, cool. So Sandy and Annie, I'll ask you to hold your thought on that. And then I will just run through a quick demo, and then I'll come back to it really quickly. Cool. Cool. Okay. So this is the NetSuite interface that we're all very familiar with. And I'll share a few capabilities that together with Acme and PointStar, you are able to enhance your workflow by. The first thing that I'll share is that when you integrate with Acme's bank feed capabilities, the first thing that you get is this screen called the Bank Recon Summary screen. The beauty of this screen is that you are able to link all of your bank accounts that we can link and integrate on your behalf. And every day, you would get your latest end-of-day cash balance from the prior day in one place. All of your account balances are here. This is very helpful if you are the CFO or if you are the head of financial controllership, that you want to get a bird's eye view. Because in these uncertain times, you know that cash is king. And the ability to have a one dashboard view of all of your cash positions across all of your bank accounts in almost a free solution at NetSuite because you already have paid for it. It's wonderful because you do not have to then explore a different TMS system when all you need is all of that. So not only do we tell you the account balance, we tell you what was the last reconciled, the bank balance, and when it is the balance as of date. So that's the first thing that you get. The next thing that you get, and this answers Annie's questions partially, is actually the match bank data screen. Now, all of us in finance would be very familiar with this screen because on the right-hand side is where you post all of your accounting transactions, and on the left-hand side is where your bank statement comes in, and the matching of the left and the right is what is known as reconciliation. However, the unfortunate truth these days is that most of you, when you use NetSuite, would actually have your accounting transactions on the right-hand side. That is where you post your invoice or you post your vendor bill pay. And that is because you're using NetSuite to generate your payment, for example. The problem is that everything on the right-hand side is there, but on the left-hand side, it is empty until you manually download your bank statement across your different bank portals and upload, or you manually enter it in, both of which are tedious and are also have compliance and controls issues. So the Acme solution is this. With Acme, what happens is that every day, we would actually push in your latest transactions from your bank statements and your bank accounts automatically and directly into your NetSuite on the left. Not only do we stop there, we actually also clean up all of the transactions so that you see everything very cleanly. And you don't get a bunch of random strings that you cannot tell and a bunch of transaction numbers that you cannot tell. So Annie, to your question, what this allows us to do is two things. You might be familiar with the run reconciliation rules, which automatically reconciles and pairs the left to a right based on these different rules that you have set. The other amazing thing about NetSuite is that when all of your data is clean, you can start manually reconciling if you need to. And what the NetSuite system does is it tells you that, okay, these are the differences between your left and your right-hand side. And if the difference is $15, it could be because it's a bank charge, if it's a TT. And if it's a bank charge, all you have to do is click on the add charge to then add that charges, which would then allow you to then later reconcile that. So that is really reconciling your vendor bill payment, where you can automatically then book and write in your journal entry that happens. The other thing that you can do is this thing called the automated cash application. And this is really for invoice recognition. Whenever you create an invoice and it's an AR and you send out the invoice, you're waiting for it to get paid by your customer. Whenever your customer pays, what happens is that there will be a bank transaction that comes in, and this screen allows you to match it to whichever customer that you have so that they would create the double entry accounting by knocking off the cash, answering the invoice, and writing it into your journal entry. So these are basically the ways that you can help with your bank recon on both your AR and your AP side. So let me just pause here real quick and just take a look at the questions and make sure that I've answered them. So that is really on the bank recon side. The other big thing that I want to touch on is actually on the AP, on the vendor bill payment side. And for that, I'm actually going to bring up my screen again and talk about the procure to pay process. So this is the procure to pay process that everyone is familiar with. In order to generate an AP, you have to raise a PRPO, and then you create a bill payment and create a payment voucher. The main issue that most of us face now is that at this stage, usually what happens is that we either do not have the bank file format in NetSuite, so we have to then just stop there and then log out, log into your bank account and manually enter it. Or you could download a CSV Excel sheet to do that. What Acme does is that we offer you two options. We give you the ability to immediately send the payment instructions into your bank portal, in which you could choose an interoperable, which means that you have an additional approver, or you could choose a straight-through process, the money just goes out. Alternatively, we can also generate the bank file format to you in whichever file format you want. The tricky part is different banks have different file formats and different payment rails, including a TT, which is global international, versus a local payment method at PayNow has also a different payment rail file format. And so we can generate both and get it over to you. So in doing so, we are able to then automate your AP process, and you don't have to worry about going back and forth between the two. So that is a quick summary of what we can do at Acme. I'm going to answer Sandy's question, Annie's questions now, but I think in the meantime, if there are any questions, feel free to come in. So I think very quickly to answer Sandy's question, I think that the main challenge of integrating Oracle NetSuite together with the local banking systems is actually this very chart that I have shared. So if you look at this, when you have a local bank, you have to go through all 4 steps. And typically that takes about a year, and that's just for one bank. And this is only on the bank side, it's not even on the NetSuite side yet. So what Acme does is that we streamline all 4 steps. And there's no secret sauce to what we do. It's just because we're very familiar with it and we have good relationships with both the bank and NetSuite. And together with PointStar, we're able to cut that down. So I hope that answers your questions. Feel free to take a screenshot and we'll also send the slides after. The other question from Annie is to automatically convert a pending approval to approve once payment has been authorized. Now, just to share, and Annie, you can feel free to reach out to me. We'll send out my contact, but I'll also just type out my email here, as well as my WhatsApp phone number if anyone wants to reach out to me directly. I do not recommend for you to use NetSuite to automatically convert a pending approval status to approved status. And the main reason is because when the payment has been authorized, there are still 3 main ways that the payment could fail. One is that the payment rail could reject the payment. It could be because the vendor details are wrong, or it could be the amount is wrong, or it could be that your vendor is on a sanctioned screening list. The second thing is that it could be rejected. So the rail could accept it in, but they could reject it and refund you the next day. We commonly see this for TT. The third is that the bank could have additional questions before they release the payment. So rather than automatically converting it from pending to approve when your payment has been authorized, my recommendation is to convert it from pending to approve when you receive the bank statement the following day that the payment is out. So that is the answer to your question. And I'll touch on the last question on Mulia, and then we can come back to this. So Mulia, what happened if the cash is already deducted by MDR fee and promotion fee? How do you automatically record the expense? That's a great question. I think what you're asking is when you expect to receive $100, but the MDR is 3%, and so for example, you get back $97. So I think this is exactly what I mentioned just now. I think that we can automatically pair it in 2 ways. One is that you recognize the amounts and then you add the bank charges, which is that $3 MDR. The second is that you can actually try to reconcile that by a transaction number or customer reference number. And so, for example, if you generate this invoice number and the incoming payment is for this invoice, NetSuite is still able to match that, even though the amounts do not match exactly. So I'm just going to pause here real quick and keep the questions coming. Annie, thank you for that. But I'm going to hand it back to you, Anita, to actually take us through the next segment.
All right. Thank you, GX, for the insightful session and demo as well. Wow. Okay, guys. You still encouraged to submit questions, right, throughout the session. And thank you, GX, also already helped us to answer the questions. But we will answer all of your questions by the end of this panel discussion. Okay. So, but now you can shoot every questions via the Zoom Q&A chat, and we will cover it at the end. And again, we will also select the best questions to get a special gift from us. Yeah, and then make sure to fill out the feedback survey form. Okay, shown on your screen now. I'll give it a pause here, like a few seconds. Okay, you can scan it now using your mobile phone. Okay, so because you will get a chance to win our lucky draw at the end of this session. Yeah, another prize from us. Okay, all good. Already scanned. Yeah, so you can fill out now. So now let's bring all of the speakers back on screen on the cam for our next session, which is panel discussion, where we dive deeper into real stories, tech challenges, and future opportunities. I will call out one by one all of our distinguished speakers here. William, Director of PS Global Consulting, GX, CEO of Acme Technology, and JC, Head of Operations of Funding Society Singapore. Okay, I will read a short profile for each of our panelists here. So William is director at PS Global Consulting. William has been instrumental in helping finance teams across the region modernize their infrastructure through ERP transformation and automation, especially with Oracle NetSuite. And GX, CEO of Acme Technology, leads the innovation behind Acme's finance integration platform, helping businesses seamlessly connect their ERP systems with banking and payment solutions to drive real-time visibility and efficiency. Joining us as well here, JC, Head of Operations at Funding Societies Singapore. JC plays a key role in scaling operational efficiency and building finance infrastructure that supports high growth, particularly by leveraging integrated system and automation. Hi again, William, GX, and JC. Welcome. How are you?
We are good, thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So, very excited to have all of you guys here. So, probably I would like to see and get the more explanation from all of you guys, right? What is actually or how has the finance function based on your perspective, based on your experience, how has your finance function evolved in the past 1 to 2 years? And what is actually the key drivers behind this, what is so-called finance digital transformation? Okay, so probably any one of you can answer this question first.
Yeah, perhaps I can add a little bit. We've been selling. I mean, PointStar. I think we sold during my. I think sold about 60 customers to date, right? Working on some of the deals. And I think what we realize is that, of course, right, with new upcoming talents, what I find out is that less and less people are interested in, doing the traditional finance accounting role, right? Like those non-value added, like, doing a manual journals or doing a journal allocation, including, in this case, transaction matching, downloading bank statement and performing all this bank data upload, right, for the purpose of payment. So what I realized is that we are seeing more and more finance leaders wants to go towards automations because what they find out, like, the lack of talents, right? They are interested in these mundane activities, right? Is impact on the company performance, right? So thus, what I'm seeing is that more and more company looking at automating their processes. One of them, one company in Malaysia, they're probably doing about, 1 million transaction per month. And what they say, hey, look, a bank data would be useful for us so that we can get this bank data, push it into our transaction matching and match 90% of the transactions, right? So what I'm seeing is that more and more CFO and finance leader are, looking towards outside traditional finance accounting system and trying to see how they can do things more efficiently. And that's what I'm seeing, in the past 5 years, if I can share.
Sure, William. Okay. JC, you are also coming from from Funding Society. So what do you see on this, again, the behind of the digital finance transformation, especially responding with William's explanation just now?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Okay. I guess in the last 1 to 2 years, one of the things that my company has gone through is to bring that reconciliation up in the entire work stream, right? We brought that reconciliation up to the business team. It's a very interesting concept. It's a very interesting concept that the business does its own reconciliation. And then, of course, there is the finance team to do that one further round in a very thorough once a month type of exercise. Um, we get to match the transactions faster, right? Nobody knows the business better than the business team itself. So it was a very long journey. But of course, bringing that upstream to clear it early, identify things very early was one of the things that was a big step for us. What that enabled us to do is to be a bit more agile. We're not so much bogged down by the very usual things like reconciliation when you have if you only do it in a fixed cadence, like once a month, once twice a week, that sort of thing. We bring that up to a daily process where the business team does that. Of course, it's almost impossible to imagine that. It's very difficult to imagine that, if the business has to do this and there are 1,000 things that they have to do, reconciliation is really one of those things that it's a pain. But of course, uh, uh, it's not always done just by a human. There are many, many tools that we have to use, and then, of course, our partnership with Acme was fantastic. We managed to get that. It's been running very well for the last 2 years, and yeah, it's great. It's great. It gives us flexibility. It allows us to go with deploy at a faster speed, get things done very quickly, less questions at the end of the month. And I think that yeah, although it was a very painful journey, it's a great impact. And okay lah, we're thankful for having partnered with Acme. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Sounds
Eh,
really great experience. Yeah,
Just adding, I think your finance team must be very happy now.
Yes, yes.
definitely.
Of course, doing a bit lesser, yeah.
Can do a bit more in other things, lah, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, they're focused on really a lot more value-added things right now. Looking at having better visibility on certain cash positions. Yeah, and it's nothing more than great, lah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So basically, again, JC, this is more, interesting to explore. So from your perspective before and after partnering with Acme, what is actually your biggest operational hurdles you face before starting this the operational transformation, the journey, especially I heard that tackling the cash flow, supply demand gap in the markets, and I'm not sure you are present in Indonesia, Singapore, and also Thailand, or yeah. And then I mean, how did the digitalization help you to bridge this gap, JC?
Yeah, so I did talk about a bit of that journey that we did. Yeah, I mean, it's coming close to 2 years right now. We're going to take some of the learnings that we had in Singapore. So we really started off with Singapore first. We're going to take some of that learnings and then we're going to deploy that over to our other entities in Southeast Asia. Indonesia and Thailand, we are quite actually this currently it's still a work in progress. Um, I think the question that really surrounds most of the people's minds are, you know, really basic things like have the funds arrived, right? And if I'm making a payment, and we are doing we're in the business of lending, have my funds been processed by the bank? Of course, there are two different sides of this story, right? You have the credits, you have the debits. But I think really to meet the supply issue in terms of funding is to be able to get updated as close to real time as possible when new funding arrives. And then that allows me then to bring that back to the business to say, yeah, with the funds that have arrived, we can start to lend. Um, Inventory in most other companies, I think inventory is you talk about inventory as in like products or maybe hard products and physical products, that sort of thing. But in the business of lending, cash is the product, right? You have inventory when you have funds. And if you don't have funds, then you can't lend. So getting updates on when the funds have arrived in real time, close to real time, is really that big step that we've come in the last 2 years. Our partners, sorry, not our partners, but our other entities in Indonesia and Thailand are very excited to learn from us, and they want to use some of these best practices that we've had in Singapore and then try to deploy that as well. Just to have a flavor of how it looked like in the past, we were operating at like a 2 to 3 day turnaround time in reconciliation in the past. Today we're doing that within the same day. I think in the demo that JX did earlier, what you're doing is that you can import your bank statements in. You get real-time updates on that. Of course, as long as the APIs allow that and you have the certain infrastructure built up, once you get that, you can start to match things immediately. All right. In the past, we did that in 2 to 3 days. Uh, the month-end reconciliation was even a bigger headache. I told you earlier, we bring that up to the business. The business now knows exactly when funds have arrived, when funds have left us. And we are doing that in a same day type of process nowadays. I think most of us agree that this process of reconciliation is actually a very resource intensive task. What I also did in the operations role was to look at it from a biz ops perspective, right? If we're looking at an end-to-end flow, what are the areas where I can try to shorten that down? This entire piece of bank information was one of those things which was a very big, hairy monster. It was something that you can't really, it would take some time to work on it. And everybody would think that, oh, actually, it's going to be too massive. You're going to have to deal with the banks. We don't have the infrastructure to do it. And I think one of those things that you really have to start on that when you want to do that digital transformation journey is really to think about what are the baby steps you can do to get there. You have to start early. And then if you don't have the know-how, you don't have the technical know-how, well, I mean, you could partner with someone like PS and Consulting and Acme, try to get that technical know-how and then begin that journey, even if it takes baby steps to start, right? And then, I mean, the example that I have was my journey is about 2 years long. But without that push to start, actually we wouldn't even have come so far. Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you, JC. Any comment from William or GX?
Yeah. One thing I'll add is that, JC, thank you so much for being with us today. I think that nothing more real than an actual customer who has gone through that. So we appreciate the insights. But the one thing I'll add that JC mentioned that really stood out to me that I really liked is that bank recon and bank connectivity does not have to be seen like a massive mega project. You can always take baby steps and get started. For example, you can start by automating bank feed first. And then you could start by maybe generating a payment file before doing the whole end-to-end. So I really appreciate that comment. So just wanted to add that. But yeah, Yonita, back to you.
Okay, sure. Okay, probably again talking about the baby steps, right? So anything that anything small things we can start now, preparing now. So from your perspective again, William, JC or GX, what is actually a future ready finance function look like? Do you think the baby steps is one of it, or any future ready things that you think like in the future will be, starting implementing? Or yeah, what do you think?
Thanks, Yonita. Maybe I can take that first and share my perspective.
Okay.
Having done many of these integrations with both small, medium, and big companies, the term future ready often creates two types of emotions. One is that working in finance, when you hear that, you may get very stressed because that is something that you hear thrown around by your CEO or CFO that we need to be future ready anything. And the reality is that it is not possible to be future ready because a lot of us also do not know what the future is. But on the other hand, they always say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So regardless of what it is, we do still need a plan. So the question is, how do we bridge that to make sure that we are not future ready per se, but that we are taking steps to be ready? And the way that I would approach this is that if you are in a finance function and if you are already using an ERP system, I think that's great. If you are not using an ERP system, then please consider it and you can reach out to William or Unita here. Now, if you have an ERP system, the next no-brainer is that you must have bank connectivity. The reason is because the heart of every ERP system is your accounting and finance system. If you cannot close your books, if you are not confident of when you have received payments, and if you cannot accurately send out vendor payments, cash is king. Your business is dead, right? And even if your business is not dead, you will experience death by 1,000 paper cuts. What do I mean by that? You might have audit issues, you might have compliance issues, you might have fraud issues, etc. So the goal to be future ready, other than having an ERP accounting system, is to make sure that you have bank connectivity. After that, then it is where all of your different modules come in for finance. You could have FP&A, financial planning software. You could have a treasury management system, which is helping you to make sure that you know what your FX positions or your risk exposures are, etc. But all of these are built on the foundation of having a good ERP system combined with good bank connectivity. So that would be my approach and my 2 cents.
Okay. William, probably you want to add more?
Yeah, I think part of it, I think I fully agree with what Jax mentioned just now. I think what we are seeing more and more, right? And I think when we are talking about future ready, right? We're also talking about the roles of finance and accounting team, right? I think in the past, CFO is always viewed as the guardians, right? Making sure all the finance accounting data is correct, month close done in the right way, a very traditional CFO role, right? But we are seeing more and more, especially, if you are a fast-growing company, right, that, have a lot of initiative, right, within your business. What we are seeing is that CFO is more and more getting involved. CFO are more and more getting involved in, helping the company with business expenses, etc. Right? So you traditionally want to try to, I mean, traditionally I think you have to focuses a lot of like month-end activities, everything like mentioned. But now, what we are seeing is that CFO need to slowly detach their function from this day-to-day functions and, get involved more into strategic, role within the company lah. Hence, like for example, if a company, if you want to expand into a new territory or new business line, a new product, the first thing that the CEO will ask, hey, Mr. CFO, can you do a business model, right? On this, I want to see whether it makes sense or not. Because at the end of it, nobody know better the numbers, not salespeople or anybody. Nobody know better than the CFO himself lah. So I think future ready function, right? Number one, we are talking about CFO having to step away from this traditional role and become more like a strategic role within the company. Hence, he need to let go of this traditional role. And I think number two, it has to be forward looking, right? What are the technology out there that can replace all these automations, right? Of course, we all know about all this AI, generative AI, or whatnot, everything. But I think in a nutshell, right, CFO need to also have a forward-looking, initiative lah, right? Like I mentioned here, JC here, we are talking about transaction matching. I'm not sure what else, JC. Obviously, there's gonna be many more that you do, but yeah, I think I think you probably start seeing a lot of CFO got involved in this strategic role.
Okay. All right. I think I will start also now the Q&A, but most of it already answered here by good initiatives GX and JC. But probably anything GX or JC you wanna answer it like verbally with one of the questions here from Mulia or Ani or which one again?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
I can
please.
cover a bit about Shirley's question. Okay, Shirley's
Sure,
actually
sure.
asking about whether or not a third party is, if we open up the bank statements to a third party, in this case, I think for myself, Acme was able to see my bank statements. Is there a risk of data leakage? Right, it's a data leakage question. I think in my own experience, we did a very thorough vendor assessment with JX. Very, very thorough. There was a couple of questions that was a bit very intrusive. But that was one of the questions that my compliance team and a tech risk perspective on whether or not how stringent was the protection of some of the data that we are releasing to Acme. Of course, there's a bit more technical things. I mean, JX would probably have to restrict certain access inside within his own team. But in running that risk assessment, we did come up with, of course, an assessment whether or not is the risk mitigated with certain controls, right? Are the risk properly mitigated by certain controls? None, of course, definitely the third party will have access to it, but if, of course, that assessment is done and, at the end of the day, the benefits will outweigh the cost of this exposure of the data, with, of course, the right legal agreements, things like, protection of the data and things like that, is it still going to be something valuable that you want to embark on? Yeah. So I guess there is no shying away that the information is exposed, right? Acme will do their, I mean, JX also did their part about ring fencing it, making sure that they have proper data protection protocols. From us, we did an assessment and understood that yes, at the end of the day, if it is sufficient, then it would be good to implement. Yeah, and then we took that step and made the decision and said, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, GX or William?
Yeah, maybe I'll just add one quick point there.
Yeah.
Data security and privacy is the top concern, and it's the top company priority. And the great thing is that on Acme side, we focus just on doing bank connectivity as a service, so that is key to us. If we leak one single transaction, or if we actually, use the data and sell in any way, we would not have a business. And so our entire business is actually built on that. The good thing is that this is not a new business model. Connectors and integrators have been around for a long time, but I think that we've focused on doing it the right way, no screen scraping. Just to share, most other consultants and connectors that you talk to say that, yeah, they can retrieve your bank data. But the way they do it is what we describe as an outside-in approach. Meaning what they do is they get you to log in, they store your username and password, and then they use an RPA to log in on your behalf, memorize where the statement button is, download that, translate that, and feed it back to you. That is actually a route that you do not want to enter, because that puts not just your transactions, but your credentials at risk. At Acme, we do it the proper way, and it's what we describe as the inside-out way. What that means is that we partner with your bank, your RM knows that we are there. We integrate with the bank's actual official APIs or SFTP with the proper credentials in place, and make sure that the data is encrypted both at rest and in transit every single step of the way. So that is our key approach.
Okay. Thanks a lot, GX. I think in summarize, any closing statement from William probably before we take photo together for sure.
Yeah, I guess, look, in years of my experience in ERP space, right, especially when it comes to enhancement, I guess many time, I've seen some of customer take a look and wait, approach, right? They know it's something that they need to do, but perhaps it wasn't painful enough, and they decided not to do anything. I guess the most important is taking that first step, right? And because I think in the end, you can quantify the ROI when you get such solution, right? When the ROI is quantified, I don't see any reasons why company won't embark on it. Of course, it's not gonna be a really quick one, but of course, it's not gonna be very long as well, right? For Acme solution, I think Jax, you can onboard customers for those that you have the bank ready pretty quick, right? So, I think take one baby step. It doesn't have to, start with every bank right away, right? You might want to start with, one or two banks that encompass your 40 or 50% transaction. then that would be a good start. Then you adopt, right? So it doesn't have to be something that require you to make organizational changes or whatever. So my advice is, look, try. I think there's no harm trying out, right? I think JX more than happy to help here, and with PS Global, we're more than happy to help you with your inquiry as well. Especially if you're talking, okay, now we get the bank data, then what's next? Those are the kind of things we can help you as well.
Okay, thank you so much, William. Okay, I think it's already 5 p.m. SGT here. Thank you so much to William, GX, and JC. But before you go, let's do a quick photo together. Yeah. Before I also announce the best questions, probably we take photo first. Yeah. Team is ready. I counting. Yeah. Okay, guys. Smile. 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Okay, one more just to make sure. Okay, ready, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Okay, all good. Okay, done. Okay, again, thank you so much, William, GX, and JC. Glad to have you guys here. And yeah, I'll see you in the next event. Okay. Okay, all right. Now it's time to announce our best questions winner. Thank you so much for engaging with us and continuously stand by with us in our webinar. So I would like to announce the 2 best questions. Big congratulations to Mulyasari and Anitan. Okay, Mulia, Sari, and Anitan, you will receive a special gift from PS Global Consulting, and our team will be in touch with you after the webinar. Okay, so I think it's been a pleasure hosting today's session. This is your last chance to fill out the feedback survey form for a chance to win a great prize from us. Please scan the QR code on your screen now if you haven't done so already. Okay, I will take a pause a little bit, 10 seconds, so then you can have a few time to scan. Okay, and then fill it out, right? Because we have amazing prize after this. Okay. Okay, so before we announce the lucky draw winner, let's recap and reflect what we have learned today. The Modern Finance Infrastructure webinar brought together finance leaders across Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand to explore how businesses can build a unified and agile finance stack. With rapid changes in the digital economy and increasing pressure on finance teams to move faster and more strategically, the discussion centered around solving challenges in fragmented systems, manual financial operations, and the need for real-time visibility. Our expert panels featuring William from PS Global Consulting, GX, CEO of Acme Technology, and JC, Head of Operations at Funding Society Singapore, shared real-world insights on how companies are transforming their finance operations. From enabling automation in spend management, bridging cash flow gaps with embedded financing tools, to unlocking ERP as more than a reporting system. The conversation showcased actionable strategies to modernize finance workflows and drive better decision making. The session emphasized the importance of integration between ERP systems like Oracle NetSuite and modern fintech tools such as Acme. As the finance function evolves from back office support to a business enabler, having a connected, automated, and data driven environment is no longer optional. This webinar served as a key platform to inspire finance leaders to take the next step in their digital transformation journey. Okay, so I think we are entering the lucky draw session. So it is the time, yeah. So now I think we can spin the wheel, team. Let's spin the wheel. Okay. Oh, Wow. Again, Anitan, you are so lucky. Congratulations, Anitan. Our team will contact you shortly for your prize, yeah? Okay. All right. Thank you again to all of you for joining us today. A big thanks again to our speakers from PS Global Consulting, Acme Technology, and Funding Societies. Don't forget to check our website, psglobalconsulting.com, and connect with us. Search for PS Global Consulting, on our social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And stay tuned for more exciting webinars and events in the future. Until next time, stay connected, stay integrated. I'm Ayu, MC for today. Signing off. Bye-bye.
I think when we are on the lookout for an accounting system, there are 3 specific features that we look for. The first one being, can the system scale along with our size? Right. The second feature being, how flexible is the system in accommodating to our business model, because it's ever changing and because it's very dynamic. And the third one is, how is the user experience in that accounting system itself? We've decided that NetSuite is best suited to our needs, and hence we decided to go with PointStar and NetSuite. After speaking with many service providers, PointStar, it is one of the fastest growing service provider that we have encountered so far, and we are extremely happy with all the service that we're providing. We think that they are very, very well suited to deliver this NetSuite project together with us. As a group, we definitely benefited tremendously with the implementation of NetSuite. We like the system for the robustness as well as the scalability. I think in particular, the scalability is very important, especially for a company that is fast growing. So if you bring the robustness of system, scalability, and cost competitiveness of NetSuite as a whole, I think it's just absolutely no-brainer for us to implement NetSuite.
NetSuite seemed to be the most fit for our business, the most flexible for our business. So I think, we managed it quite well with PointStar, and this is why we were quite happy to work with them. I think designing what you want and then figuring out how NetSuite can deliver that for you, like starting with the end in mind, is super important. How it works is not so relevant. How we use it is super relevant. I think NetSuite allowed us to really see how we could use it as opposed to just telling us what it could do. And that's a key difference.
Karena Oracle NetSuite ini sudah open API, kita bisa integrasi dengan software-software lain dengan mudahnya melalui Oracle NetSuite ini.
From the very beginning, PointStar Consulting have been by our side, ensuring a smooth implementation of all Oracle NetSuite ERP systems across all of our retail operations.